My mother and father raised 8 children, and we lived in a big old farmhouse in Webster, New York. And Mom taught all of us to embrace life, but she also taught us not to fear death. And tonight I want to share with you Mom's lessons about death. When I was 11, she took me to Grandpa's funeral. And she walked me up to the casket, and we knelt and prayed for a minute. And then she took my hand in hers and placed it on Grandpa's hands. Feel how his hands are cold, Andy? That's what happens when someone dies. Mom's lesson about death was seared into my brain that day. And she learned a lesson that week too, because she took care of the arrangements for her dad's funeral. And the local undertaker tried to upsell her into an expensive casket that she didn't want. And she hated that. And every holiday after that, when the kids were gathered around, she'd hold forth. Now remember, kids, when I die, I want you to buy the cheapest pine casket you can get. Said, don't spend a dime more than you have to on my funeral. Take the money and throw a party. She wanted a celebration of life. A couple years later, we buried Knuckles, the family cat, in a big old shoebox. And Mom remarked, you know, if the state of New York would allow it, bury me in a cardboard box. Don't even spend the money on the pine casket. Take the money and throw a party. Mom and Dad moved to Florida in 1975, and Mom wasn't there 3 months before she spotted an ad for the Volusia County Cremation Society of Daytona Beach. And for $159, they would pick you up anywhere in the county, as long as you were dead. Cremate you and take care of the death certificate paperwork. Well, Mom knew a good deal when she saw one. And so she grabbed 2 memberships. That's what they called them. And she used to like to joke that, I can't believe I'm the member of a society. That Christmas, Dad found his membership wrapped up under the tree with the rest of his presents. Mom used to volunteer at the local Catholic church, Our Lady by the Sea, and answer phones. And one day, a call came in from the Barrett family, and Danny Barrett had passed away. Well, Mom was just getting off duty, so she raced home, she whipped up a meal, and took it over to the Barretts, only to find out that Estelle Johnson had gotten there first and dropped off a casserole. And she could not figure that out. So next time she was at Estelle's house, she said, Estelle, how did you beat me there? I took the call. Let me let you in on a little secret, Ruth. And she walked Mom over to her refrigerator, opened the freezer compartment, and she had 3 frozen casseroles in there in Pyrex dishes. I call them my obituary dishes. We're mostly senior citizens down here, Ruth. You know, you've got to be prepared. Well, my mother loved being prepared, and from then on, she kept an obituary dish in the freezer, ready to go. In 1978, my mom was diagnosed with an aggressive brain tumor, and she had about 18 months to live. And I got to spend the last 5 months with her, and I did most of my grieving during that period. The last few weeks, we didn't try and get her out of bed and into the living room. So instead, the members of the family that were in town, we'd gather around her bed on chairs and just have a conversation. She hadn't spoken in at least a week, but we thought she could hear us. And one day the doorbell rang, and so I answered it, and it was Estelle Johnson. She knew there were some Finns in town, and so she dropped off dinner. And so I put it all away and thanked her, and I went back to the bedroom, and I said, hey, guess what? Estelle dropped off dinner. We don't have to cook tonight. Mom piped up first. Must be a dry run. We broke out laughing, and then we made eye contact across the bed, and of course the tears started. My mom passed away about a week later, and after the service in Florida, we had a caravan of 3 cars of Finns headed home to Webster, New York, for Mom's funeral and Mom's party. We had one more stop to make, the Volusia County Cremation Society of Daytona Beach. I went in alone because I had handled the arrangements, and the proprietors greeted me and offered his condolences, and then he pointed out the beautiful gold and silver urns on the wall and started a little sales pitch. Then he went in the back to get Mom's remains. And he brings out Mom in a little box about a 9-inch cube. It's gray, and it's made out of cardboard. And so he starts a sales pitch, and he says, I'm sure you'd agree that your mother deserves the best. And I stopped him in mid-pitch, and I said, yes, she deserves the best. But this is exactly what you wanted. So I scooped her up, and put her under my arm, and we headed for the door. He had this shocked look on his face, so I didn't have the heart to tell him, we were headed to a party.